All right, if you're a man over 40 and you are struggling with injuries, specifically in your shoulder, and you're not able to do your chest exercises, let's talk about that for a second, because there are ways to work around injuries, and we need to first determine exactly what's going on. Now, it's really hard for me to do that for you, but there are a variety of things that we should be looking at as it relates to what is possibly going on with your shoulder. Now, the first thing I want to mention is the shoulder articulates through more range of motion than any other body part that you have, right? We can move it all over the place, and with that being said, there is a high chance that this can get injured or just disrupted in its ability to move through that entire range of motion based upon your activity. Like for me, for example, I throw the football a lot, and I typically don't warm up. Like I watch Drew Brees walking down the football field doing this, warming up his shoulder before he throws 100 footballs. Now, I need to understand that warming up is vital. Warming up is vital. You must understand that before you do anything, injured or not injured, you must warm that joint up or any joint. And it's my feeling that the best way to warm up a specific joint is with the activity that you're going to be doing. So, for example, if you're going to bench press, just moving through this range of motion and then grabbing something a little heavier before you go under a load is a great way to warm that up. And then, you can move around and do different things, taking that shoulder through its entire range of motion to make sure there's nothing going on in the front, back, sides, or wherever. You follow my logic here? It's just moving our body. And with that being said, one thing I really want you to understand as it relates to having an injury is you still need to move your body. Don't not exercise because you have an injury, unless it is something that you've been told to by a trusted physician not to do. So if your doctor said, do not bench press because you have this injury going on, then obviously you want to pay attention to that. But if you just have something nagging, we want to make sure that you continue to exercise, because not doing anything could be the issue. Sitting around letting scar tissue build up, sitting around letting your muscle atrophy, sitting around and doing nothing, in my opinion, isn't the answer unless there is something seriously at risk if you do movement. Now, there could be a tear. Most likely it's inflammation that you're experiencing. It could be a joint problem. It could be overuse. A lot of us have overuse syndrome. I had guys doing a push-up contest. They were doing push-ups every single day. They weren't used to doing push-ups. They jumped into the deep end of the pool, and then they just had issues because of overuse. There could be an impingement here. The way to determine that is like putting your hand behind your back. I feel some impingement right here in this, so I know what to do specifically based upon my feeling, my range of motion, my experience, what exercises I can get away with in still building my chest muscles without hurting this any further than what it is. So this is really what I want you to understand with what I'm talking about here, is that you need to understand and learn your body. You need to know what you can and cannot do, and you need to realize that your body is going to heal itself. Your body wants to heal itself. Once again, I need to preface all this by saying this is not you doing more injury to yourself, but it's not you accepting a little bit of pain and then just throwing the baby out with the bathwater and saying, I can't do anything. For example, my mom, when I was a kid, I said, Mom, it hurts when I breathe. Don't breathe. That's not the answer. I understood what she was trying to say, but that's not the answer. So let's talk about some of the things that you might not be doing with respect to how we could work through. And for my example here, not being able to put my shoulder completely behind my back, but this one, there's no issue. So there's clearly something going on with my right shoulder, and is most likely overuse syndrome, because I had mentioned I throw the football a lot, I don't warm up enough. So some of the things I could do, one, see a doctor. And I did. And my doctor told me there was an 80% tear in my shoulder that he wanted to operate on me right away. They were pushing me for surgery, and I elected not to do it. I wasn't able to do dips. I wasn't able to throw a football, but I let it rest, and now I'm able to do dips, and now I'm able to throw a football without surgery. I've never seen anyone have a shoulder surgery, and if you are someone who is not in this situation, but I've never seen anyone that had a shoulder injury and got surgery that had a better outcome. Like knees, I see people getting knee replacement. They're like, oh, my knee, this was better than my original knee. I don't believe that's true, but you know what I'm saying. it's seldom that I see a guy with as much range of motion as he had prior to the shoulder surgery. So you can go to your doctor and get a qualified physician to look at that, someone who specializes in shoulders, someone who understands, someone who works with athletes, someone who doesn't want you to sit around and not do anything for the rest of your life. You can go to a doctor like that. A PT, a physical therapist, is someone that can give you some exercises to help you work through the range of motion issues, because it could be just short, tight muscles. It could be me just using one side more than the other. I have muscular imbalances going on. The next thing you could do, which these things are popping up all over the place, is a stretch clinic. So stretch clinics are great, where they could have me moving through range of motion that I couldn't do on my own, in doing active stretching or muscle activation stretching, where they put me in a compromised position-ish, and then they massage the muscle in that position to help me work through it. Like, I can clearly feel right here that there's an issue. So somebody else other than me could possibly work through that. So that could be a stretch clinic, that could be a specialized massage therapist to help you work through that. And then that final thing I was going to mention is massage. So I understand, by working with thousands and thousands of men, that a lot of men overlook the doctor, the PT, the stretch clinics, and the things like that, and we suffer through pain that we might not necessarily need to be suffering through, okay? So another thing that is important is exercise selection. So I'm sitting here on my bench, and I just want to talk to you about that for a minute. So if bench pressing is an issue for you, more than likely it's because of the positioning of your elbow in relation to the injury that you have going on. Me just going through this movement, I feel a little bit of an issue where I pointed it out earlier, okay? So what I know that I can do is simply go from here, which naturally causes an impingement. Do me a favor, raise your elbows up and go like this. You'll probably feel a little bit of an impingement in your shoulder. But if you raise your elbows up like this and bring them in here, it's less likely that you're getting impingement, because you're not pushing your shoulder out fully to this part of the range of motion. So if it's incline, decline, flat, it doesn't matter. If I simply bring my elbows in here, okay, let me turn this. So if I simply turn my elbows in here and I'm pressing through this range of motion, as opposed to pressing through this range of motion, which that movement by itself caused an impingement in my shoulder. And then coming all the way down deep here below parallel, also could be a problem. So what you're going to need to do is play with the range of motion. You could lay on the ground and do a bench press off the ground, therefore limiting your range of motion. You're not going past your back, which is increasing the stretch and potentially the danger here. So you could go on the ground. If you look at the textbooks, they will tell you that the range of motion for chest really is right to here. But I know you, probably like me, like to come down deeper to get more of a stretch. I get that. That may have been what caused your problem. I don't know. And only you can really determine this by really seeking qualified help and understanding exactly what's going on in your shoulder. So the main thing I want you to take away from this video is there are workarounds. You just need to understand that you need to change the angle. So maybe it's something as simple as changing the angle on the bench. Maybe this incline that I have it at is too much. And all I need to do is simply lay this back 1 degree or 1 notch on the bench. Maybe I need to go flat. Maybe incline isn't the way for me to go. Maybe it's as simple, like I said a minute ago, going from here to here, or limiting the range of motion from here. There are a variety of things that I want you to understand, that there are workarounds to shoulder problems, so you can continue to train your chest. You must continue to work out. Again, like I mentioned before, unless there is something more nefarious going on in the background, I would absolutely say continue to do your training. Now, this is the point where you can really focus your mind on your muscle, because maybe you need to cut back in the weight. So if I'm only using 15 pounds here, I would slow the repetitions down. I would think about pushing and lowering from my elbow, not my hand. I would completely change up the action in my mind with tempo, with angles, with different variables. If I need to go to cables, go to cables. If I need to do a push-up off of a counter, do a push-up off of a counter. So the point I'm making is continue to exercise. Make sure that what you're doing is not furthering any underlying problem that you might have, but your body will recover. Your body wants to recover, and you can do this. You have any questions, please comment below.